We are approaching 1 million subscribers on our YouTube channel. Can't believe we're even close to this. Can't thank you guys enough. If you haven't already, please go hit that subscribe button. Lots of fun NBA content coming your way.
Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of The Dunker Spot. We are part of 342 Productions. I am your host, Nekias Duncan, and joining me as always is my co-host, Steve Jones Jr. Steve, how are you doing, sir?
Feeling good, feeling great. Happy to be here, excited to be here, back on YouTube. Thank you, Dunkers, for once again embracing your bounce. Nekias, basketball is back. It is time to hoop it up.
It is indeed time to hoop it up, and for those of you that are new to us, hello, we hope you enjoy. We are going to be on the channel every Tuesday talking a whole lot of basketball. This episode naturally going to be a little bit more reactionary since the NBA season just tipped off yesterday. But moving forward, we'll be on the YouTube channel every Tuesday, giving some of our weekly observations, digging into the X's and O's and things of that nature. So I hope you rock with us. And for those who are returning with us, thank you for sticking with us. And with that, we can quickly transition to the games from last night, which a fun slate, a double West Coast slate, which garnered some rumblings when the schedule was first released, but that's neither here nor there. But we got the ring night ceremony, which was dope. We got the Nuggets and the Lakers tipping things off after a whole lot of chirping back and forth over the offseason. A lot of anticipation heading into this one. And the Nuggets win by 12. A 119-107 victory. Nikola Jokic with a triple-double. Jamal Murray with 21 and 6. KCP with 20. Aaron Gordon stuff in the stat sheet. And with all of that, I kind of want to start with Denver's defense because that's what kind of popped for me in this one. And I think from the Lakers side, there was a lot of discussion about what happened to Anthony Davis in that second half. 17 points in the first half, went scoreless in the second half, only got 6 shot attempts up in that one. And watching it live, it felt like Denver was doing a good job of taking away space and taking away lanes for Anthony Davis. Rewatching the game this morning, it became even more clear for me. After a shaky start to the game for Denver, they were really locked in with their help, particularly on Anthony Davis. They were very committed to sending either high help when the Lakers tried to go the empty side pick and roll, or that weak side was peeled in low very, very early. Like immediately comes to mind, like around 3 minutes left in the first quarter, there was an empty side pick and roll with Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis on the left side of the floor. And I think it was Reggie Jackson not only peels in from the weak side, but runs all the way to the other side of the court to cut off an Anthony Davis roll. Austin Reeves puts up a floater to miss. Nuggets are able to get the board and go the other way. But it kind of highlighted, we are not letting you cook. We're not letting you get going. In the second half in particular, either those post-ups, those isolations with Anthony Davis, the help from the nail was very aggressive. It just felt like he could never really they couldn't generate space for him. And Anthony Davis really struggled from there.
Now, to bounce off your point about Denver's defense, I think that speaks to the confidence and understanding that they have with their championship formula. Defensively, they're based on help and rotations, and usually earlier in the season, they're a little bit backwards as opposed to as they progress and build up. But you saw them showing bodies and committing to staying to showing that help. In that second half, Anthony Davis tried to go with some of those drives from the perimeter. If someone was in the corner, Jamal Murray was in. There was help in from the nail. We're taking those drive lanes away. Anytime the Lakers went empty corner pick and roll, nail help was going to be there, even if Nikola Jokic was in a drop. And so they were committed to showing that over and over again. They got beat a few times, but you saw as the game wore on, that early help was in. They rotated back out, and it helped them really execute on that end. And then offensively, they are finding the blend. They are finding their way. They are keeping pressure on teams. They showed that, hey, we may not be the hunter anymore, but you still got to come beat us.
Yeah, and it's a tough thing to do, period, but it's definitely a tougher thing to do in Denver. And just watching Nikola Jokic kind of carve things up as a passer, which is not new for him. He is one of the best passers the league has ever seen. But I was just enamored by all of the off-ball actions that Nuggets went to, whether it was some flex stuff or just some simple exchanges above the break. Anytime the Lakers tried to switch and there wasn't a level of physicality with those switches, Jokic attacked those gaps. Hit guys on slips, quick kickouts for threes. There was that play, in the second half, where he gets a guard to screen for him. Gabe Vincent is kind of holding to show and recover. As soon as he gets out of there, Jokic just pops a three and knocks it down. It's just like, what do you do with this supercomputer? And then going into the fourth quarter, they were just recycling sets over and over. Like, went to some split adjacent action, and whatever the Lakers did, the Nuggets seemed to have a counter to it. Here's a pass to a cutter here. Here's another pop out here. Here's a drive from Jokic here. Help comes. Here's another kick. They just seem unfair which I'm sorry for the very basic analysis there, but it's a lot of fun watching this offense flow when they're clicking like that.
Well, I think the part that should give Denver the most confidence is they weren't necessarily humming at 100% with their pace and with their tempo. You bring it back to Jokic, he was very good. We all know he's a very good basketball player. I point to just how casual those buckets that he got over the course of the game was. My mind goes back to early in the game. I want to say like 11:30 in the first quarter. Austin Reeves flies at him. He takes one dribble, goes behind the back, takes another dribble, flips it in. Now, my second favorite part of that possession, the shot clock was running down when he did that. And I was like, okay, all right, that's a clear message. He did the post-ups. He was great. There were a few possessions where it looked like Denver just didn't have anything going, but they kept moving the ball. They kept moving their bodies, got a cut, got a flash, and boom, here's an open jumper. And you mentioned sets that they ran. The set they ran to end the game was tremendous. Just Jokic screening for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and now we got elbow action. KCP and Jamal Murray playing out of it. You know, and the best part is they got different options out of it almost every time. Mm-hmm. You know, if KCP screening for Murray, you want to switch that? Cool. Here's a handoff. Here's a KCP jumper. Cool. You guys switch that? That's great. Now we flow into a Jamal Murray handoff. And he drives and forces help and finds a dump. Oh, okay. We'll turn it into a double screen. Now we'll hit the elbow and screen each other again, slip, and play. And that's where Denver is starting to find that confidence outside of just Murray, Jokic, and pick and roll. Some of the usage with those two and Aaron Gordon. I thought Kentavious Caldwell-Pope played very confidently and was excellent. What stood out to me was Jamal Murray and how he can elevate them just by being healthier. More drives, quicker decisions. That helps not just the starting lineup, but that second unit lineup, the non-Jokic minutes, being able to be a creator and operate that way. I thought that was very key.
I liked it. And it was interesting seeing how they staggered the lineups with Jokic and Murray. It was a lot of Jamal Murray with Reggie Jackson, Peyton Watson, Zeke Naji out there, and kind of just letting those guys work together and cook. It felt a little shaky in the first half, but as the second half came around, you could see Jamal Murray being more of a pressure point. You could see some of the cuts opening up once he drew more attention. And I think that is going to help solve some of the unease people may feel about Denver's bench as it is younger. It is talented, but it's younger. As they try to figure out what are the combinations that are going to work as they build towards yet another deep playoff run. It's encouraging to see them kind of work through things on the fly that way. To bring it back to Jokic very quickly and kind of flip it to a Lakers lens, how did you feel about the way that they attempted to defend him? Because for me, I don't think they really did anything poorly. They cycled through things. Anthony Davis got the matchup early. They then shifted to Rui on Jokic with the roamer there, with some of the pick and pops. It was, okay, we're going to keep two on Jamal Murray so he doesn't get free, but we're going to have that pre-rotation behind it to make sure he doesn't get easy pops. I think that's what happened on the earlier possession that you talked about when he got Austin Reeves and went behind the back and got the flip to go. It felt like they cycled through a lot of options. He's Jokic, so he still got his, but did you feel good about the Lakers' process on that end?
For the most part, yeah. I think obviously they wanted to give Anthony Davis that first shot and have some confidence, stay at home, play out of that. I think having the versatility or at least the options to try different things, whether it's, we can show a late double, we can try and shrink the floor one pass away and show help. We can put a smaller defender on you. We can throw these switches at you. They tried a lot of different things. It is Jokic, so eventually you got to end up picking your poison to a degree. But I was okay. I thought they had a few good possessions where, okay, we're timing our help, we're hitting you with a double. But it's hard to consistently keep him out of rhythm, especially with the different ways that Denver uses him. And now, even if he's not scoring, you're paying attention to him, it's a cut. And now that's in the back of your brain. So it's more just kind of having to tolerate, deal with it, communicate through it. It's tough assignment.
Got you. On the Lakers side, how did you feel about the way their offense operated in this one?
The Lakers showed a lot of good flashes last night. They didn't get the result they wanted. My disappointment with the offense was more the movement. I think they have a lot more movement they can get into, but the positive signs kind of outweigh it to a degree. It just felt like a lot of pick and roll and post up to me. And I don't know if that has to be their base to a degree, especially with this roster where you have shooting, you have multiple guys who can make plays, be involved in dribble handoffs, operate in pick and roll. You can kind of flow into different things. I'd like to see them put a little bit more pressure on teams that way. try and open up plays for those guys, and then go with, here's Anthony Davis or here's LeBron. On the flip side, they never really leaned into LeBron to the degree that they have before. Now, obviously, the minutes are one thing, but I think that's a positive for the Lakers as far as, okay, we don't have to spam LeBron post up to get something going. We don't have to spam LeBron as a screener to get something going. Now, they did it in the third quarter, and they got, two immediate results. LeBron rolls, and then LeBron catches and holds it. Defense shows help, and they kick to D'Angelo Russell. So they still can balance that out, but I would like to see just a little bit more pace, a little bit more tempo. Start your sets earlier, get a little more movement in it, keep the pressure on the defense, and use your talent to your advantage.
I got you. Like, I think for me, I'm mostly with you there. Like, I think the tempo was what kind of threw me off, but I wonder how much of that was them just sorting through some of the newer pieces that they have in. How much of that was Denver is scoring at a high rate, so this is just a lot of half-court basketball that we have to play. And to that point, again, how much of that is Denver's defense, which I led with. I felt like it was very good. And they were very intentional about taking away some of the gaps from Anthony Davis. Like, even with some of the touches there, we saw last season with Anthony Davis post-ups, if you had LeBron one pass away, cheat off of him if you want to, he's cutting right behind that help. Or he can make a quick decision from there. That's something that we talked about last postseason on the pod in the Memphis series in particular. They could never really find that balance of taking both of those guys away. It felt like the Nuggets were able to really find that blend. It did kind of raise my brow about the spacing of this group, and it's something that I'm generally excited about, and I don't want to overreact to game one. But the degree that the Lakers helped off some of those guys with the nail help in some of the pre-rotations on the back end, lower on the floor, they did not really guard Gabe Vincent like that. Just as a quick example, they were helping off of Rui on some of those post-ups for LeBron or Anthony Davis. There is an element of prove it, but that's just something I'm just going to be keeping an eye on moving forward. To your pick and roll point, something that we discussed during their postseason series last year was the Lakers trying to find a way to exploit Jokic in space in pick and roll. Lakers went to a lot of empty corner pick and roll in that postseason series. Last night, 62 on-ball picks per second spectrum, 41 of them came with an empty corner. So about 2/3 of their pick and rolls came with an empty corner, which is about 20% higher than their rate in that Western Conference Finals series. It was not very successful. Points per possession was pretty low, 0.8 points per possession around that margin, which would be, let's just say that would be very badly if extrapolated across an entire season. So again, credit to Denver for holding serve, but the Lakers were trying to find that blend, were trying to find some things to exploit, couldn't quite get there. So I'm curious to see like how they are able to progress as a unit moving forward. Flipping back to the Denver side very quickly. Mentioned the staggering and how they were trying to balance out the bench. How did you feel about the individual bench contributors for Denver last night?
I thought they did their job, and that's part of the success of having a winning team. You know what you need from these guys, and you can funnel them towards that. We need you to play hard on defense. We need you to set screens and roll. We need you to pop, knock down these threes. Reggie Jackson's here to operate. There's a lot of room for Christian Brown to operate. They know who they're going to play with. They know when they're going to play, and so it's plug and play to a degree. They're going to have to find it over the course of the season, but they know what they need.
I got you. It was fun watching Peyton Watson get out there, fly around defensively. Offensively, definitely keeping an eye on him. He's going to get gap coverage when he's spaced off the ball. How willing will he be to shoot? If he is going to catch and drive, how quickly will he do that? That's going to be a balance that he's going to have to find moving forward. Like, that was fun. The early Reggie Jackson splurge in the first quarter of the game last night was a fun one. Keeping an eye on Zeke Naji as well. The screening for me, we will see as a screen stickler. But a lot of young pieces in the second unit now. I'm excited to see how they grow. Did you have any closing thoughts or any questions you had for the Lakers?
No. I think, obviously, Anthony Davis didn't have the second half you would want. Denver threw some doubles in, threw some help at him. I hope that doesn't disguise the first half, because he was very aggressive. He was very decisive. Those are the kind of post-ups you want, where no matter where you catch it, even if it's not deep, I'm going to get it. I'm going to make a quick decision, initiate contact, and finish. I thought LeBron's finishing in transition was something to keep an eye on, because he was just striding and hitting people as often as he could. How they balance their lineups is key, but I mean, I go back to literally there's flashes, because in the third quarter, you have Cam Reddish guarding Jamal Murray. You have Christian Wood as the big helping in pick and roll, defending that, and it worked. So I think with time, they're going to be headed in the right direction.
They should be. You mentioned the LeBron transition point per synergy. 10 of his 21 points came in transition. Not quite 99 speed LeBron that what you're used to, but that man is still a freight train in the open floor. So fun to watch some of those flashes for him. I'm with you. Just a fun basketball game that felt like it was going to get out of hand, and then it didn't. We had some back and forth in that fourth. It was nice to have kind of a similar feel to the playoff series, honestly. And you made the joke about it last night during our watch party. Joined those online Duncan Spot watch parties, by the way. It felt like a similar script to where Denver does a thing, LA counters, Denver counters, LA counters again, and then Denver wins. And that's what we got in the first game of the season. If we don't have any other actually, quick question for you before we move to the second game of the night. This is something that popped for me statistically last year. Just kind of want to get your thoughts. Are you, any concerns at all? Maybe concerns is too strong, but how are we feeling about the LeBron AD pick and roll right now?
Fine.
Okay.
Why would I feel otherwise?
Because I guess just the spacing element between those two, just tracking it. Looking at some second spectrum stuff. Teams are switching that particular duo more often. The points per possession is going down consistently since they first joined up. And so it's something I want to do like an actual deeper film dive into. But I want to get your thoughts, see if anything popped for you early before I got super nerdy about it. Like this is something that I'll probably pop up with like 2 weeks or so. But just floating it out there for you.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks, bud.
Let's move to the second game of the night. The Phoenix Suns taking on the Golden State Warriors, the Chris Paul revenge game. The Suns were able to win 108-104. No Bradley Beal or Draymond Green in this one. Just want to quickly note that one. Quick last for the revenge game story. We here?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, we're gonna bring revenge. We're gonna bring the revenge thing to the 342 network. Anyway, kind of have to start with Devin Booker, right? 32 points, 6 boards, 8 assists. Saw a lot of 2 on the ball in this one, and did a pretty darn good job of navigating it. Kind of oscillating between getting the ball out quickly and letting his other guys make plays, and also stringing things out. We got some screen rejections in him getting downhill. And you saw on some of those possessions when he was able to string things out or when he was able to reject and get downhill, you note who's spacing alongside him. Sometimes it's Eric Gordon, sometimes it's Kevin Durant, and now it's just Devin Booker in his wheelhouse without an extra layer of help coming towards him. And if you can't send extra help to Devin Booker at this stage of his career, just get ready to go back on the other end because he is just going to score. He is one of the most prolific inside-the-arc scorers that we have in this league, and he had that on full display last night. Had a lot of fun watching Devin Booker. But before I get going, what were some of your takeaways from this one?
Well, we can stick with Devin Booker because he was in command during that game, and he looks to be making another leap playmaking-wise. He shut the door on Golden State just by making reads, and he was comfortable in not just reading the defense, but now he was bending the defense. And I think knowing that he has Yusuf Nurkic, who's going to get a piece of his man, helps. I don't know if I've seen Devin Booker work to set up pick and roll like he did in this game. As far as holding it, jabbing, driving one way, let me make sure you're in position. Now I come off, and now I can go ahead and play. And it went from just reading what the defense is going to do and anticipating what the defense is going to do to now forcing the issue. Okay, I know the big is going to come up and engage. I know the weak side's going to help. I can skip it to Josh Okogie. I know he's there. Oh, there's a double pick and roll right here. Let me come off. Oh, Steph Curry's here. He's not supposed to be here. Where's Eric Gordon? Bing, there he is. All right, they expect me to take this shot. I'm going to dribble off Kevon Looney. What's up? I'm here. Right over your head to Nurk rolling. Those type of plays are what you want to see from Devin Booker. Now you're going to add Bradley Beal at some point. I don't know if it's a great day for the Suns need a point guard crew.
I'm so I'm so glad you capped with that because it feels like the answer is firmly Devin Booker can just be your primary ball handler. Now, again, you want to be able to blend him off the ball as well, which is why it's important to have other guys that you're comfortable initiating with. Like we will see Josh Okogie just bring it up sometimes. We will see Eric Gordon initiate things. Obviously, Kevin Durant can do it as well. Adding Yusuf Nurkic, part of the benefit of doing that is that we can toss it to big fella above the break or at the elbow. We can run off him too. So they have different elements. For me, just quickly bounce off of that, it's less the Suns need a point guard and more they just need someone that can defend point guards. so Devin Booker doesn't have to, or that Bradley Beal, when he comes back, doesn't have to. I feel like Josh Okogie could very well do that. And before I go back to Booker, hat tip to Josh Okogie for that game last night. Flew in for multiple offensive rebounds, hit shots, nice drives to keep things flowing in the half court. The defense was strong. He was, like, at worst, their third best player last night. And that's very much a complimentary. Like, normally you say something like that, it's like, okay, who didn't step up? In this case, I felt like Josh was just that darn good. Okay. We got the face. Is it third or fourth? We could be more conservative. I don't want to disrespect what Nurk did last night either. But my general point is Josh Okogie was very good last night. We'll throw it there. But I guess while we're on Nurk, though, like, I was also impressed with what he did. Like, he held up better than I thought he would defensively. Offensively, just crazy to say, one of the best screening performances of the year since the year just started. But calendar 2023 at the very least, a very strong screening performance for him. And I'm glad that you brought up the cadence that Devin Booker was playing with to make sure Nurk wasn't getting hit with illegal screen calls. Because we saw as soon as Drew Eubanks came in, quickly got hit with 2 illegal screens. And I feel like at least part of that was just guards moving too fast, not letting them get set. Not going to put that all on him. But you kind of see the balance between that and Nurk just getting to a spot, land the lumber, and now Devin Booker has someone on his back. And with the way that Devin Booker is able to keep defenders in jail, kind of boogie to his spots at the elbow, get the clean looks from there, that's going to be a pretty darn fun partnership between those two. 25 on-ball picks per second spectrum, well over 1.2 points per possession anytime those two ran ball screens last night. Good luck, considering the spacing can get even better. Again, once Bradley Beal comes back, that is going to be a lot of fun. On the other side, Chris Paul made his Warriors debut. Did not shoot well. Didn't make a three. Beyond the shooting numbers, how did you feel about his process last night? Any questions pop up for you during the Chris Paul debut?
You threw the Chris Paul debut to me?
I want to get your... You know I can go on Chris Paul, but...
That's the whole point. It felt like a lot of pick and roll. I think the biggest thing that popped to me with Chris Paul was... Well, it was just odd seeing him there, like having to adjust to him taking a charge on Kevin Durant and the Golden State crowd giving him an ovation was odd. When the Warriors go to their traditional post split action, only it's Chris Paul who's getting the ball in the post. That took a little bit of getting used to. I like the side-to-side optionality that he gives them as far as, hey, I can run a pick and roll on this side. You have to honor it. But the real action's on the other side, whether it's Steph Curry diving and now Klay flies off the screen, or it's a stagger on the other side. I think that's the positive. It's going to take some time for them to find the balance as far as when do we go with what. It felt to me like a lot of pick and roll from the Warriors last night. Just that was my gut feeling. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out. And how does he balance making plays versus going right to his pull-up? The defense is probably where my biggest concern was, and it wasn't one-on-one defense. It was weak side rotations, as far as it felt like Phoenix really started to, hey, you're the low man. You rotate. And let's see what we can get out of that. And so that's probably the number one thing I would want to make sure we shore up. Because if I'm Golden State, we can shore the second unit up. We can get better opportunities for our young guys. We still have Steph Curry. We have Draymond. We have Klay. We have Andrew Wiggins. But if that defense does not raise up to a certain level, they're not going to reach their maximum potential.
I got, man, that's good stuff there. Very quickly on the pick and roll point before I bounce off of that, because you said this during the game that it felt like a bunch of pick and roll. For Warrior standards, it very much was. 73 on-ball picks per second spectrum, which was their most in a game since March 26th against the Timberwolves, where they had 80 set in there. This 73 number would have ranked 8th for them all season long, so already a top 10 pick and rolls game there. Chris Paul in particular received 36th, which would have been the 11th most for a Warriors player last season. So your eye test was on it in that regard. To the defense point, very astute point there with how the Suns were able to kind of manipulate who the low man was going to be. And that's also the double benefit of having Devin Booker handling and having Kevin Durant one pass away. You don't want to help, naturally, because Kevin Durant is one of the greatest shooters ever, which makes it easier for Devin Booker to get downhill. It makes it a little bit easier for the roll to get to the paint without a whole bunch of help being there. But on top of that, if Kevin Durant is spaced one pass away and he's at a wing, naturally that just pulls a bigger defender or a better wing defender further up the floor. And so now you have to worry about Chris Paul's making that rotation now, or Steph Curry's making that rotation now. And so I do wonder how they find that balance. To your lineup point, like some of it is just going to be solved by Draymond Green being on the floor. The Warriors don't have to be as small as they were with some of the lineups that they threw out. Like one in particular, they had Steph Curry and Corey Joseph out there together with Moses Moody, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevon Looney. Andrew Wiggins with 1 rebound, which is kind of odd. I expect him to bounce back moving forward. That lineup was a -10 in 3 minutes. And in a game that you lose by 4, that kind of hurts. Go ahead.
Did you find a non-Chris Paul lineup, Nekias?
What do you? Funny enough, the Steph Chris Paul lineups were positive. The top minute combination with Steph without Chris Paul was positive. Top minute combination with Chris Paul without Steph was positive. It was kind of hey, with 1 game sample, we gonna see again. Like Chris Paul was put in action. He was asked to be the low man on a lot of ball screens, particularly late in that game. And that's going to be an issue. I think size can be a general issue. And like heading into the season, we kind of talked about what this small unit is going to look like. If it's Draymond at the 5, Wiggins at the 4, or Klay Thompson at the 4, whichever one. And if you have Steph and CP3 out there together, teams have the ability to kind of go matchup hunting. We didn't see that much from Phoenix last night, but there will be teams, like I would imagine the Lakers in particular, may try to tap that button if they don't find that that blend of movement, player movement, body movement, and to say, all right, LeBron, Austin Reeves come screen for him. D'Angelo Russell come screen for him. And kind of tap that button. Like they seem more in line to do that. So I'm curious to see how the Warriors try to navigate that portion of it. I guess how much of their offensive process did you have an issue with last night?
My only thing was this feels like a lot of pick and roll. That was it. Obviously, they didn't get a lot of the results. I was okay with a lot of the shots they generated. I liked the drives from Andrew Wiggins. It didn't feel like he was 4 for 12 until you realized, oh, these aren't going down. Klay Thompson didn't really hesitate. Good and bad with that. I know people feel a type of way, but they're gonna need his shooting for this to really work, especially off ball. Dario Saric was very aggressive. Moses Moody came in, gave him a lift. Kuminga was aggressive. It's just gonna be the balance. It's just the balance. The lineups, who's taking shots when, who's making shots. If Wiggins is able to make some of those drives, does Phoenix now have to send more help? Does that open more things up? If Klay's hitting more threes, can you now run more of those sets? And now that opens more rolls up. It all kind of ties together for Golden State at the end of the day. And so for me, it was they weren't hitting shots. They weren't really making shots all day. Probably the biggest concern is probably 36 made field goals, 19 assists. That's not Warrior basketball to a degree. So that's where it's like, okay, y'all took 43 threes. Didn't really get the ball movement you wanted. There were some drives, but did it result in points or help defense? So it's just kind of just tightening that up.
Yeah. And I do wonder, again, very easy point to make, but I wonder how much of that portion even shifts when Draymond is back, considering how much of the hub stuff flows through him. Like me and you were joking about it during the game when they did get some of those short roll opportunities with Kevon Looney. Those are assists, but like those are just Kevon Looney's going up at the rim. Where Draymond, you would see more, holy crap, here he is in the short roll situation. Is he going to take this push shot, which we're mostly okay with, but it's still an uncontested push shot for the most part? Will he get all the way to the rim, or will he throw this dump off or throw this lob to someone that's cutting up from the other side of the floor? And so like having that added element, you mentioned Chris Paul running split action through him. If it's Draymond, you unlock even more cutting with some of those perimeter players. Like all that can kind of flow in. And then quickly bouncing off the bench point, that was a silver lining for me for Golden State. Moses Moody looked comfortable out there. Nice mix of drives and timely shot making. Jonathan Kuminga was aggressive. He was solid. Closed the game out for Golden State, which was interesting for me, which again, I feel like that was more of like a rebounding thing. Andrew Wiggins just didn't have it tonight after having a career year last year. So again, I expect that to bounce back. But it's nice to see them get those contributions. Like that was my biggest question for Golden State in the non-health division heading into the season. What kind of steps will we get from those young guys? And I think you give both of those guys passing grades last night. So good stuff there. Any closing thoughts on this one before we get out of here?
Well, I wanted to bring it back to Phoenix real quick, just because we touched on it, but you really saw the impact of Nurk for them as far as being able to screen and roll and what that opens up, mixing in some pops, making some good short roll decisions. You saw how interchangeable the Suns can be with their personnel and the pressure they can put on defenses with the off-ball movement, combine that with pick and roll. You notice on the weak side, that corner might be empty. It might just be Kevin Durant on the weak side. If it's a Grayson Allen, a Nasir Little, a Yuta, they could start in that corner and then lift up to the wing. So they can mess with you in a lot of different ways. And that's going to be even more fun as Beal comes back. It's just, for me, tightening it up. The big thing was Phoenix played fast in that game. Yes. They played very, very fast. That speed might be able to make up for a lack of movement at times. The issue for me is, do you just rely on that? Does this become quick shot territory? We saw how the turnovers impacted them, and it was a lot of turnovers. So they have to tighten that up. I thought things really started to shift when they just slowed down and focused on executing. Hey, Kevin Durant, let's get you off an off-ball screen. Let's let you catch near the elbow and operate. Devin Booker, let's get you off some of these actions. You curl off from under the basket, or let's get you back in pick and roll. Now let's play out of that. So it's just kind of figuring out the volume knobs for Phoenix, because I like the fact that they're playing that fast, but they just got to make sure they get it right. I also like that all of the people who could be the fifth gave you some flashes of why they could. You mentioned Josh, but I thought Yuta Watanabe had some good minutes. I saw Nasir Little had a nice little good run there. Eric Gordon didn't make a bunch of shots, but he's a pressure point. So
yeah, you felt the drives.
So that's where you can kind of see what the vision is for Phoenix long-term.
Got you. And, to the flashpoint, like, we know Grayson Allen can shoot. Another guy that just didn't make shots last night in a game that neither team really shot well in this one. So I guess it's just a general game point. But even then, you could see what a Grayson Allen lift could do on the weak side during the pick and roll. And you could see the catch and go ability that he does have. Again, the shots didn't fall, but you see easily how he slots into this offense. I'm with you there. Very quickly on Kevin Durant, because we just didn't talk about him that much in this one. 18 and 11 for him. Again, not the most efficient night. 6 of 20 inside the arc in particular. Is that just, for you, was that just cold shooting night, KD's going to be fine? Or did you see anything that Golden State in particular did to him to kind of bother him?
Felt more like cold shooting night. I don't know if they unleashed all of the ways they can use Kevin Durant as far as using him off screens. So that's where I kind of pause and like, okay, were they trying to use him in different ways, or was it KD go find a basket type of deal for me? I'd like to see them play another game so I can see, okay, this is just what KD's asked to do right now, or that was just that game.
Makes sense. And that's also just the value of KD, right? To where you can just do all these different things, or you can just say, all right, here you go, 17 free from the basket, get you something. And he can do that and has done that at historical rate. So just want to get your thoughts on that, see where you were with that. Again, the Suns with a big win. I think that is going to conclude things unless you have closing thoughts. We good. Well, thank you for watching this episode of The Dunker Spot. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us. We're on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us. We will be on this YouTube channel again every Tuesday. This was more reactionary with the game starting with the season starting last night, but we will have some deeper dives for you moving forward in the season. So continue to rock with us. Also, join us for our online Dunker Spot watch parties. We'll be watching NBA games throughout the year, all season long. We'll have live analysis there. We'll have some breakdowns for you during commercial breaks. We'll have a lot of fun with that. We'll drop the link in the podcast description or in the video description as well, so you can join. It is free, no shenanigans at all. And with that, we will catch y'all next week.
I did my research. So hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell thingy, and we'll see you Tuesday. Tuesday is for the Dunkers.
Tuesday is for the Dunkers indeed.